This is Deploy Asana Successfully, episode number 5. Today, with my fellow consultant Bastien Siebman, we're going to give you tips about integrating Asana with other tools. Welcome to Deploy Asana Successfully.
Hello, everyone. This is Deploy Asana Successfully here with my friend Bastien Siebman. Hi, Bastien. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. I have a fresh coffee in my Asana mug, so everything is okay.
I don't have that Asana Mac. This is only for top consultants like Bastien. I have the volcanic one, but yeah, always a round of coffee helps to get the things started in the morning. Cool. Just a friendly reminder.
Just an Asana anecdote. I'm trying to cut down on coffee. I'm trying to only get 2 coffees per day. And in order to get that habit within me, I have a recurring task. So every day I see a task that says 2 coffees per day. And I have that thing every single day. And I do the same thing for fitness challenges. For example, doing 100 push-ups. You might have a task every single day telling you to do 1 more push-up than the day before. So every day you do the push-ups, you complete the task, and you get a new one the next day. That works well.
Does it change the value with adding 1 extra push-up?
No, I'm writing the number in the description. So every day I look at the previous value and I try to do 1 more.
Cool. So maybe we'll change the name of this podcast to Asana Extreme use cases or health habit use cases. Well, you guys know this is a podcast about deploying Asana. We love working with Asana. We love helping organizations to deploy Asana. And we also love those that are future Asana champions that we hope there are many of you in the audience. And we also hope that these conversations between 2 Asana consultants, one based in Girona, in Catalonia, in Spain, and the other in France, but working globally and with a ton of experience in our backs, we can help you to enjoy this ride. So in the past episodes, we discussed all the stages when deploying Asana, the analysis, the setup, trainings. Today, I want to bring a topic on the table that there are some funny discussions around it. That it's integrations. Which are the best softwares that you can integrate with Asana? And I know that we have some different opinions in some of the integrations.
Oh, do we?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one of them. From your experience, Bastien, what is the approach? What are the top questions that you face when it comes to can I work with Asana connected to?
So the technical answer is you can technically connect Asana to anything because Asana has what's called an API. So it's an abstraction layer, technical layer that allows any apps to discuss with Asana. So technically you can do whatever you want. The only questions you have to ask yourself is, do I really want to connect 2 tools together? So what's the actual use case? And the second one is, what kind of budget do I have and or resources to do that integration, especially if it doesn't exist out of the box. Building an integration, it's a lot of time, it's costly, you have to maintain it. And if it doesn't make sense in the first place, it was not the right move to do. And it's not because you use 3 tools on a daily basis that those tools have to discuss with each other. Sometimes it's perfectly fine to have them in different silos. Even if your life would be a little bit easier if they could talk to each other, sometimes that little bit easier will cost you thousands of dollars per year, and it just doesn't make sense.
Cool. I would like to start making like a classification of the different ways you can approach to integrations. I would move this classification to the features approach. I would say that there are some things that Asana does organically. You don't need to connect Asana to anything. assigning a task, creating a project. Then you might need other features like I need to create a task from an email message. Then you can use the official Asana integrations or the official Asana add-ons that help you connect Asana with Outlook or help you connect Asana with Gmail, and you can create a task from an email message. Then you have what I would call, and correct me if I'm wrong, the external actions that are like custom connections that you can trigger using rules. Rules are the automations on Asana, and this is when a trigger action happens, then an external action is activated, like I don't know, when a task is added to a project, send an email message to that specific person, or you can post a message on a Teams channel, or and I will ask you to explain later the actions that the extensions I do coded can do.
Yep.
And finally, and I don't know if I'm missing something, the last one in that classification is what you mentioned, is I have a use case that it's not covered by Asana, it's not covered by official integrations, it's not even covered by these external actions, and I need a custom development. Then Asana has this API that it's like a plug that helps you connect Asana with other tools. You can get and post information from and to Asana. And then what you will need is a developer that has the knowledge to work with Asana API and will help you connect Asana and get information from Asana or put information to Asana. Am I missing something? Do you think that there's something in between this?
I think it's a good list of the different technical capabilities. If you look from a use case standpoint, I think you can look at integration as three different things. Either the integration is used to place information into Asana, like an email becoming a task, or you use an integration to post something outside of Asana on Teams, on Slack, or you use an integration to improve the way Asana works. Like you want a better dashboard, or you want to do time tracking using a more advanced system. And to me, that's something within Asana itself. So I think that's really three different families of integrations. And we can discuss Outlook and Slack. I think those are good examples because I think in most cases you should not use any integrations. And that's going to be today's debate.
Yeah, definitely. I would also add another topic on the table. That's you mentioned that it's very important to understand the use case. It's like, okay, in which situation you will need this information to travel from or to Asana. And I want to bring that topic because if in that use case it's faster to go directly to Asana and do the work, you don't need the integration. And let me explain you an example. With Gmail, there was an extension that helps you create a task directly from a message. But at least in my own personal use case, it was much faster to go to Asana and create the task. And when it's faster to go to Asana and create the task, then that extension or that integration doesn't make sense at all. Now it's slightly different because Asana released a new Chrome extension that does the work pretty fast. And I would say that it's even faster sometimes. If you need to add several details, well, now it's different. And also the Gmail integration has been improved because now it's not only that it creates a task, but if that email conversation has additional replies, all those replies will be posted as comments in the task, which lets you track everything that happened in that conversation. And I'm thinking about customer support tickets or client requests or something like this. But I think that it's important to understand what is the use case, and if it's faster to work directly on Asana. Then there's an additional thing that you have to consider, and if it's good or not to use that tool integrated with Asana. And I'm going to Slack, for instance. Asana has an integration with Slack that you can post message on a Slack when something happens on Asana, or you can convert a Slack message you can convert it into an Asana task. Why, or in which cases you don't recommend to use that integration? Or when do you recommend to use Slack and when to use Asana?
So let's look at the use case where the integration allows you to put things into Asana. So let's say the Outlook integration, the Gmail integration, and the Slack integration, because you can create tasks from Slack directly. I think you do /Asana or something, and that can create a task. Even if you can do this as fast as you could in Asana, and I don't believe that's true. I think Asana's still fastest option to do this, even if it was not the case. I think the quality of the task you end up with is widely different. Let's look at the Slack example. You're going to type /Asana, you're going to type someone's name, and you're going to type a task title. The task you're going to end up with, it's a half-baked task. It doesn't have any description, no comments to encourage you, no project, no fields. It's a very bad task. Same thing for an email. If you turn an email into a task, you usually miss some of the Asana features. You're not going to create the right dependencies. Maybe you're not going to create the right subtask. A lot of stuff will not be available from the integration. However, if you do that in Asana directly, you have access to everything. You can place the task in the right project. You can post a comment right away. You can really make it super clear and super nice. That's my first take on those integrations. The second one is, if you look at the email world, to me, the email world, it's a noisy, unstructured world. And Asana is a calm, quiet, structured world. If you start moving all your emails into Asana, you're basically going to send all the noise into Asana. And if you look at an email, when it's that long, usually half of it is the signature, half of the rest is people saying hi, thank you, and blah, 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 and just beating around the bush. And then you have one sentence asking for something specifically. This is the sentence I want to put into Asana, and I want to copy and paste only that sentence. I don't want all the rest. The rest is noise. I'm going to waste everybody's time by sending this to Asana. That's also the reason why I don't like to forward email to Asana that much, because I feel like it just creates all that noise into Asana. I know that in some very specific cases, it does make sense, and I agree. Just like subtasks, I usually say subtasks are not that good, but there's a lot of use cases where subtasks are amazing. So there's a lot of use cases where creating a task from Gmail is fine, but I think in most cases, you would be better off creating them directly from Asana.
Yeah, I with that last exception, I would agree. I totally agree that with creating content on Asana directly, you can be very precise, you can describe everything, but sometimes, especially if you are on the move, you don't want to miss something that has to be done, and sometimes this it arrives in your mail inbox, sometimes it's a Slack message, sometimes I don't know, even WhatsApp, and you need to like write down that, and I think it is faster to create automatically a task, auto assign it, and maybe later you will add the details, you will cut the noise.
Exactly. I wasn't clear enough. Obviously, if the task is just for yourself and you will clean that up later, that's fine, and it's something I do all the time. But do not assign anything to your colleagues from those other tools, because the task will be missing a ton of context and details in most cases.
And this brings me to another typical conversation that it's applies when an organization is starting to deploy Asana, and they are super used to assign tasks via Slack, email messages, WhatsApp, even coffee machine conversations. They don't even know they are assigning tasks. They are just saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. What would be the right approach? What's the etiquette to do this politely? And how do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I think it's
Or
pretty
you have to
simple.
be harsh?
No,
You
just
have to be
ask for a
gentle?
task. That's it. No Asana, no work. So I actually did that 5 minutes ago. I was in a meeting with my colleagues, and Julian said, "Could you do something?" I said, "Yes, sure. Just create a task, and then bye. See you later." Because he knows that just telling me something during a meeting doesn't work. I want a task because I want him to explain what he needs. I want him to place the task in the right project. I want him to block that task with whatever is blocking me, or block his work with that task so that he get notified when I'm done. And I just need to put that piece of work in my list of things to do. So just create a task, and then I might give it back to you. I might challenge you on why it's necessary, but unless there's a task, we can't discuss. So just create a task should be I think the right answer to most of those situations.
Yeah, I have a sentence that I repeat over and over and over in the trainings, and it's I can even tattoo in my chest. That's one action, one task, one assignee.
Yeah.
So because there are plenty of times that people try to put different actions within one task, and then it's when they say, can I assign this task to multiple people? No, you have to break down this task to different tasks, because there are several actions, several steps, each
Yeah.
one with the assignee. You can link them, you can create dependencies between them, but it's one action, one task, one assignee. Yeah, I think that it's also when it comes to HR and hiring, we talk a lot about the skills and the soft skills, and I think that an underrated soft skill is the ability to define work. And that's something that Asana, when you work with Asana, is very valuable. It's to be good creating a task, creating the title of the task with the action in the title, creating a good description with a definition of done, putting all the information that the assignee will need to correctly complete the task, and if it's necessary to do some steps, create those subtasks to complete the main task. Here we could go to the subtask discussion, but and also to use correctly the comments. If you have any question about the task, to use the comments correctly. But I think that this is an underrated skill.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very good point.
And also, if we look to the future, if we look into the future, we see that AI is something that it's going to improve a lot. Part of our daily routines, part of our daily work. It's not going to replace us, but it's going to be a huge help for our work. But AI relies a lot on this good definition of the task, this doing things correctly, not creating crap. Because if you put crap, you will get crap from AI.
Yeah, exactly. And if your process is made of different steps, different tasks, you might want to delegate some of them to AI, but they have to be scoped properly, and you have to define exactly the scope of that task to be able to delegate properly. So I do agree. You need to be careful not to detail things too much and have too many tasks that are too small. You have to find the right balance. It's not always easy. If you have three actions, if they are done by the same person on the same day, and they are usually done in a row, to me it's kind of one task. If one of those three steps could be delegated or is going to be done the next day, maybe you need 2 or 3 tasks.
Yeah, my rule, the one that I share with our customers, is if it can be done in less than 2 minutes, and it only affects yourself, and you don't need to leave trace, it's not necessary to create a task. But if any of these conditions is no, if it takes more than 2 minutes, if it affects other people, or if you need to leave trace of that, then this should be a task. Going back to integrations, what is the most I don't know how to label it, surreal or more extreme use case that you had to integrate Asana with another tool? Do you have any case or any customer that you can share to know the power of Asana API or the power of Asana integrations?
We did build custom code for a client. They have this massive project with, I don't know, 200 tasks each. They create 1 or 2 projects a day, and they have tons of custom fields at the project level and at the task level, and they need data to flow between tasks. So they would identify tasks with a prefix like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we now have a massive map that says task number 4, that field should be copied on task number 6, 7, and 8, and that value should be coming from the project value. And they had to build that entire map of fields and data flowing between tasks, because that's just the way they work. So they tried to turn Asana into an ERP and try to basically code their way into that use case without the power of the ERP. But it's not the way Asana is supposed to be used. So you usually hit some roadblocks, and it costs a lot of money. I spent dozens of hours on this, but it does work well. The biggest challenges we usually have are around time tracking. People usually don't like Asana time tracking that much. They think they need something complex, so they usually turn to a different solution. And then they want you to sync Asana with their solution. The problem is Asana is more task-based. Their solution is more project-based and sometimes stage-based. So you need to find the right granularity, but you can't, and that makes it super hard. And I think I don't always succeed at convincing them that they should try a very simple time tracking solution, use Asana, use a simple number field, and try to track the hours spent on tasks. And then you can build on top of this and try to get smarter and more complex over time. But they usually want to track everything from day one, and they want to be super specific, and they want to have hourly rate, and they want to have margins and costs, and they want timesheets, and they want everything. But Asana doesn't really do this well.
Yeah, you know that at Volcanic we know well Everhour, and this is the solution. We connect Asana when the customer needs all these features you mentioned: timesheets, cost per project, cost per hour, fees. They need to compare. They want to check the profitability of the project. So yeah, if someone at Asana product team is listening to us, I have a petition. I know that they can't work on demand, but this is something that drives me crazy. It's not having the ability to report time using the mobile app. It's a huge problem, because a lot of teams rely on time tracking, and they have a lot of they have part of their workforce working on the street, and not being able to report time on the mobile app it's a huge pain in the ass. They have to report via comments, then someone at the office has to, but it's a big mess. It's a big mess, and this is something. Yeah, sometimes we suggest to go to Everhour, because Everhour you can report time in the mobile app and then connect this time reported to Asana, which is but we are developers too. We know that it's not as simple as that. That adding a feature takes a lot of time. They need to make their business case, and they need but well, it's just our claim. Cool. I was saying before that if we go to Asana rules, we have the external actions. If you scroll in those external actions, you will find some actions that were coded by Aidu. What can you tell us about these actions? What are those use cases?
Yeah, it's a good way to really code your own actions, either your company's action or just create a product and have your own actions, just like Asana does, just like we do. It's a good way to get Asana to do things that Asana is not doing by default in a native way. So the way it works is when someone creates a rule involving an external action, then they go through an authentication process on our server. And then that generates a authentication token that we keep. And every time the rule runs, our server is called, we pull up the authentication token, and then we do the action that was asked using that authentication. So we do something on behalf of that person. Yeah, it's a good way to extend the possibilities that Asana has, even if it's internally within your company. We have some internal processes relying on those, and nobody has access to those actions outside of our company, but it's a good way to rely on the native triggers, but do custom actions, because the triggers are the hardest thing to code. It requires like a big infrastructure to have some triggers because you need to listen to everything that's happening. So it's a good thing to be able to rely on existing triggers in Asana infrastructure, but then code your own actions. In our case, for example, we coded the ability to do different things that were not available. For example, mark something as a milestone was not available back then. Postpone a task to next Monday. This is something you can't do using native rules. We also have things like make a call to another server, like an outside or outgoing web request. If you want to call a Zap in Zapier using a URL, this is something you can do by using our custom coded action. And it's a never-ending game, because every time you have a good idea for an action, obviously Asana within 6 to 12 months they will add this as a native feature. So we need to find the right action, and then they will keep up and add those. And sometimes they never do because it's not part of Asana's use case. But in most cases, they keep up with you and they finally release something. But you are able to use automations for a couple of months until they release an actual feature.
Yeah, we know also that in not in a later future, there will be also additional options in the rules with script actions, and well, there's a huge universe if you want to go the extra mile with integration. So as we always say, Asana is a neutral tool, is a flexible tool. Its features you can stretch them a lot. You can add these official extensions like Outlook or Microsoft or Google. Then you have these custom integrations that can work very smoothly with the API. And I would say that at the end of the day, your imagination is the limit. Everything you can imagine, it's almost sure that can be done with Asana API. Are we missing something? Or that would be a wrap for today's episode? Do you think there's something else when it comes to connecting Asana with other tools that should be?
Yeah, we haven't discussed Slack.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Posting on Slack.
Posting on Slack.
We did discuss creating tasks from Slack, but we didn't discuss posting things on Slack. And I think there's a couple of use cases where it does make sense to post on Slack or on Teams from Asana. The only things I try to fight is companies trying to accommodate difficult people that don't want to come into Asana by allowing them to stay in Slack and be informed of what's happening. Especially managers and leaders, they might be like, no, I don't want to go in Asana. Please post in Slack, whatever happens. And I think it's a mistake, because everybody's going to see this as an opportunity to not use Asana, because even the leadership doesn't. And also, they don't show the right example. The data is usually clean in Asana, and you can subscribe to project status updates. You can be on tasks, and posting on Slack is usually not the right solution.
Yeah, I agree. Also, if you are working in different workspaces, like for instance, we as consultants have access usually to our own workspace, but also we have access to our customers' workspaces, and sometimes you don't want to go inbox an inbox and check all the inboxes from different clients, and you want to get notifications about what's happening in other workspaces. And in this case, I think that it's good to have notifications. I don't mind if it's on Slack or email notifications, but it's for those spaces that you will not check on a daily basis. Usually, those users that check Asana on a daily basis, maybe they have a tab open with Asana in their browser, or they have the Asana app open, they don't need notifications. But if they check Asana, they will be on top of their work with no problem. And I agree. But I think that it's good. For instance, I like the notifications, the project notifications. If you have a Slack channel where you have the conversation about that project with this informal chit chat about that project, it's good to have in that timeline to have some notifications, like, I don't know, maybe the milestones. When a milestone is completed, post a message on a Slack. So when we have the timeline of the project, we have all the conversations, all the general conversations, and we also have between these conversations these Asana notifications. This is probably because the message functionality in Asana in the project level, it's not well developed. I've seen a lot of use of comments in the task, but I don't see traction when it comes to messages in projects.
Yeah, it's one of the problems. You can't really replace Slack altogether. You still have to keep Slack around. The other big problem is that most people are not trained on how to use Slack properly. And if you ask most people, they are completely overwhelmed by Slack, and they can't keep up, and they are confused by threads and channels, and they don't really understand the difference. So I think putting more things into Slack is just a mistake. You should walk away as much as you can from Slack and go into a more slow-paced asynchronous collaboration in Asana. But it's a long battle I'm willing to fight.
Cool. And this brings me, I think that it's a good way to end this episode, to a book recommendation. It's called Slow Productivity from Cal Newport. Cal Newport is the author that had that
Of Deep
bestseller,
Work, really good
Deep
book
Work
as well. Yeah.
This slow productivity is another approach to how we work, and it has very, very good takeaways. I will not spoil our audience. I recommend to check it. And Bastien, to our audience, if you need further information, if you want custom integrations, I do -clarity. And again, as always, a big pleasure to spend this time with you. Looking
Definitely.
forward to our next episode. And thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later.